open government, transparency is not a liberal issue. It's not a conservative issue. It's not a left issue or a right issue. It's a freedom issue, right? I mean, we've got people, probably in this group, we have more conservatives that are in this particular meeting that are FOIA advocates and transparency advocates, but we've got people in other areas of the state who want transparency, and their cause may be more to the left. But the important thing is that everybody, from the most powerful to the most vulnerable people in our society. You heard Mike Masterson talk about, folks who were probably, who've been kicked to the curb time and time again. Those people need access to records just like everyone else. And they need to hear public discussion, open dialogue in meetings just like everyone else. So to me, it's just not a liberal or conservative issue. It's an issue. It's a freedom issue, and that's why it's so important to me. And I think listening to Mike's talk, it just seemed like that just went to the importance of his work over the years. Just goes to the stratosphere. But we've heard example after example of holding government accountable. I was reading about today the Freedom of Information Day, and it was given the history, and it has some of these little facts that we were talking about. To carry on where we were before, in 1966, America implements the Freedom of Information Act. And then apparently in 1982, more countries adopt the Freedom of Information Act. Canada, Australia, and New Zealand implement their Freedom of Information Acts. To me, it's hard to fathom what our state and what our nation would look like if we didn't have the Freedom of Information Act. I mean, and be able to request records, have open meetings. I mean, we would just literally not be able to hold our government accountable. And so I can't overemphasize how important it is. They talk also in this about how to observe Freedom of Information Act Day. Number 1, gather information. Number 2, share information. Number 3, take it online. And I think that's been the game changer, is the ability to take this on Facebook, good, credible, they talk about check your sources, good, credible information. I know I've used Facebook over and over again to get a document that I think is important. I'll put it out on Facebook. It's just, I just think that is so important. Bill Ray, any comments before we head to our next break? And we're going to be back at about 3:30 to hear Ellen. Yes. Any thoughts? Does anyone else have any thoughts or comments before we? Yes, sir. Mike Masterson, and then Jeff.
Joya, one thing I didn't say that I think is important.
Let's get this mic where they can hear you.
Okay.
Let's see.
It's kind of funky. It takes a minute to warm up and still doesn't work.
Nope, there it is.
Okay. Yes. Well, at least this might pick you up. Well, it won't amplify you, but.
Oh, hey, okay. No, I just wanted to say
That in my experience,
that Mike's,
the
think the people online can
The
hear you.
little one's still
Whether-
picking up
whether
the
we can-
online.
Okay, well,
Okay, let me keep it right there. In my experience,
over the years, I've found
found
a number of people in the bureaucracy who want to help. They want to give you what you want, and they know what you want.
they know what's there, but they don't want to get fired for giving it to you. So what I do in that case is ask if they have a piece of paper, and I get a pen, and there's no formality involved. I write down Freedom of Information Act request, I date it, I write down what I want, and I hand it to them. That gives them cover to say, hey, I didn't have any choice. He came in here, he gave me an FOI request, I had to give it to him. Now, if I hadn't done that, they probably, I can think of 2 or 3 instances where they would have gotten in trouble. So there are some good people in the bureaucracy who know what's going on, but they don't want to get fired, understandably. And if you can just think out of the box for a minute to do that, kind of like I did Tory Pines when I asked the starter if he'd give me a piece of paper and give him an FOI request, because I knew that as soon as they say, well, why did you give him those? I had to. I think that's an important point to realize. It doesn't have to be formal. You just have to put that in their lap.
All right, thanks for sharing that. Great point. Jeff?
Hey, I just wanted to
Pick your
brains of this group that's well-versed in FOIA. You know, on the open meetings, it's my understanding that really about the only executive session you can do, like a city government or county, is with personnel matters. Can go into executive session. Is that pretty much it? And the reason I'm asking is, I've seen a few times where it's tough to do the best work for the public in an open meeting. And here's where I'm going at. Like, for instance, a county or a city trying to maybe purchase a piece of land or a building or something. And when you're negotiating in an open meeting, it really weakens your position for the seller. You know, if you take it to the city council, you get approval for a mayor to negotiate up to a certain amount of money, you have now cut your legs out from under the city for for that mayor to go negotiate, because the seller already knows, hey, well, the council approved up to $1 million, so I'm not going to take under $1 million. Is there a good ethical way to look out for the citizens when you're trying to conduct business and still be like the final approval or whatever be voted on in an open meeting? But it's just, you see what I'm saying? How could a city go about negotiating on something like a purchase and not give up their position, their max spending dollar or whatever?
Well, we can go back to the city of Fort Smith case where they litigated that very issue when the city of Fort Smith decided that the Harris case, Harris versus City of Fort Smith, where our city administrator, there was a piece of land, it's just the exact example you're giving. And so what he did is he polls every board member, because they didn't want to do it publicly. I guess you can justify if we do that, we're really hurting the people's interest, and, we can't get our best bargaining position, or others are going to outbid us, or, where's the slippery slope end with regard to public open discussion? There was a bill down at the legislature last time, which I testified against, which would allow multi-million-dollar economic development projects to go into private session, whether it's executive session or, and I thought of you, Jim, because there was the mayor from Bella Vista was there touting it. And so I think you get on a slippery slope, but in the city of Fort Smith, he just polled, and this is where we get this polling, he just called up Director A and said, how would you vote on this? Director B, and then called up Director B, C, D. Instead of having an open meeting, so they polled and they got their vote, and then they went into open session, and had their vote. The unfortunate thing is, and the problem I have with that is we're entitled, and the Supreme Court said that in numerous Supreme Court cases, we're entitled to see the sausage making. We just don't want to hear, we, the city fathers, we had all these secret, and we came to the best solution in secret, and we're just going to give you the final outcome. No, we're entitled to hear the entire discussion, the entire process, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and then come to your decision. That's what Fort Smith wanted to do recently when they do this case I talked about earlier, where they're going through the city clerk polling whether you want the parks included in the huge, massive tax increase. And I want to see those discussions. I want to know why city director A feels this way and B feels this way, and who butted heads, and then how they came to their conclusion. And then, as the Pickens case said, I believe it was, then I may say, I may not like the final result, but I can say, okay, I can stomach that because I saw the discussion and I saw how the dynamics work. But if all this is done in secret and then we just have this glorious decision, that does not, in my opinion, it doesn't build public trust. And I get the point, but what we have to remember is we're dealing with public funds here, public dollars. It's for good or bad or the ugly, we're not just dealing with private funds and best bargaining positions between two private individuals.
Right.
That's my take on it.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. I just try, I know we were unable to get the best bargain for the public because you had to deal in an open meeting. So I didn't know if there was a better way, or if we had interpreted wrong that it could not be discussed in executive session. We didn't do the polling. We had to, you discuss it in an open meeting, but it does kind of cut your legs out from the city bargaining on a purchase or something like that. I just didn't know if there was a better way to do it.
George, Jeff, if you stay around, I'll mention that after a while when I talk.
Okay.
But you're totally right. In my opinion, it's basically related to personnel.
Well, I tell you what, appreciate that question and dialogue. And so why don't we take a break? We're kind of running short on time. We're going to be back with Ellen Kreff at 3:35. So we've got about a little under 15 minutes. And if you eat those cinnamon rolls, you're definitely going to fall asleep.
All right, folks, well, 15-minute break.